Welcome to the Leadership Window podcast with Dr. Patrick Jinks. Each week, through a social sector lens, Patrick interviews leaders and experts and puts us in touch with trends and tips for leading effectively. Patrick is a board-certified executive coach, a member of the Forbes Coaches Council, a best-selling author, award-winning photographer, and a professional speaker. And now, here's Dr. Patrick Jinks.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 139 of the Leadership Window. Glad to have you with us. I've been looking forward to this conversation because my guest, Amy Daughters, today hits on a note that resonates so strongly with me that when we connected, I was like, yes, this is different than a lot of the content we've had on the show before. It's a little unique. Stay tuned with us. She's got an amazing story. And we're going to get behind a conversation about really just human connection, but as Amy has found it through her story and what she is finding with a particular sort of human connection that she has discovered and is using. Amy Daughters is a keynote speaker. She's a letter writer. You're going to hear about that. She's a sports journalist. She's a satirist. She's an author of Dear Dana, That Time I Went Crazy and Wrote All 580 of My Facebook Friends a handwritten letter, and also the book You Cannot Mess This Up, a true story that never happened. Those are worth buying just for the titles, honestly. So we'll talk a little bit more about them. But Amy is convinced, as I am, that when human beings connect individually in a meaningful way, that's where the magic happens. In a way that, as she puts it, nothing can separate them. Like a bad internet connection, for example, which hopefully we don't have today. Amy, I'm just super excited. I didn't say a lot in your intro. I'm going to let you say more. But thank you for connecting with us and for carving out time for the show. I'm really excited about this conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. I'm thrilled to go. Thrilled to be on here. It's a niche topic, so I really feel like when I connect with somebody who sees some kind of merit in it, it's very exciting to me. So thank you for being one of those rare people.
Well, and a lot of our listeners may have well seen you on the Kelly Clarkson show. I should mention that because of this story. It picked up her interest, and great segment on the show. And we'll talk about that. We'll maybe give people a link or something to go see that if they want to see it, if they missed it. But Amy, tell us just kind of how would you sum up what you're on a mission to do and how you came to this. So I'm just going to turn it to you and let you kind of open up the window into your soul a little bit about why this subject matter and this dynamic of human connection resonates with you and what it is you're trying to do with it.
Right. And I think it's important to preface it by this whole story started when I was minding my own business, just doing my regular life. And so I did not come into the story intentionally as the letter writing lady. And I never intended to do any of this, but this story and the way it played out transformed my life. I realized that we have this little tool in our little human toolkits that we had all along that is so powerful and so impactful that now my mission is to share this story with as many audiences, many individuals who will listen to me long enough to hear the story. And so, like I said, I was minding my own business. I'm a writer, a freelance writer. I'm a mom. I'm a small business person, basically as an author. And I got on Facebook one day, very innocently, thought of a girl who I used to work with at a summer camp 35 years ago. And I was like, wait, I wonder whatever happened to Dana. And so I look her up, voila, there she is. So I friend her since it doesn't really require me to do anything else but hit a button, and she accepts my friendship request. And I don't really know, Patrick, if she remembers me because we spent 6 weeks together in like 1986. And all I really remember is we were both loud and thought we were funny. And so we like jived and had a great time at camp. But I'd never gotten her head out of my mind. So she accepts. I do the 7-minute scroll through her life, and I look, and right away I find out that this girl has overachieved in children. She has 5 kids. 4 girls, 1 boy. The youngest is the boy. His name is Parker. And right away, like post number 3, the kid's got cancer and he's at St. Jude in Memphis, Tennessee. So it's serious. And so as a human being, as a mom, she's a stranger to me. The kid is a stranger to me. But as a person, you feel it right away. Worst case scenario, nobody wants to think about that. So I start following along with these people's story. She asked for people to pray. I kind of do that. But I'm totally in the background. I don't hit like, I don't hit comment, because that's disingenuous. This girl's fighting for this kid's life, and so I watch it go along. And then he goes into remission. This is really good news. She's excited. She does these great posts. And I mean, she's a wordsmith and she's very honest and direct. And then he goes into remission. I feel kind of relieved. Then the rest of the year plays out and the cancer comes back. She does a long post. We're going back to Memphis. I'm like, wow, this is just horrible. So I sit down at my desk that next Monday morning, and innocent, like I wasn't thinking about her. I wasn't thinking about anything. And it's like a bolt of lightning came and hit me right on the head. And I was like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start writing Dana and her son Parker supportive notes and sending them to the Ronald McDonald House in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, I haven't written anyone a letter, Patrick, in like 25 years, probably. Rather than I might send a thank you note. Like I grew up doing all that, like a lot of us did, but it is not a regular thing for me. I still have not had any direct contact with this woman. I've never met the kid. So really this story is kind of like layers of DEFCON craziness. So this is like we're DEFCON 5. I'm going to send this person who's struggling with cancer with her son. I'm going to send them notes. But I felt so committed, I started doing it. So once a week, I had a writing schedule at the time. I was writing about college football. And so I made her my Sunday for Monday. I'd write the note on Sunday, I'd mail it on Monday. I didn't even have stamps. I had to figure all that out. And so I do that for 10 to 14 weeks. And I'm a human being. So I'm sitting down thinking, this is crazy. You are nuts. But I couldn't stop myself. So after about 14 weeks, you can tell her Facebook posts, because we're still not having direct contact, start to shift. And the kid is not doing well. And then, unthinkably, tragically, this has nothing to do with me. Parker loses his battle with cancer at age 15. Total devastation. And I didn't know what to do. I sent a condolence card and I sat down at my desk on another Monday morning. I was like, so what do I do? And I was like, mini lightning bolt. I'll just keep writing her, because I didn't feel like I could just stop writing. That felt like the wrong thing to do too. Like as a human being, as like a crazy woman. And so now I have to figure out where this woman actually lives. Like this is Facebook. So I was like, I met her husband the summer before at camp. He's an attorney. So I just start sending the notes to his law office. And that's crazy. And I knew it was crazy, but I was like, I can't just leave her hanging. So I just keep writing her every week. I keep her on the Sunday for Monday schedule. And it starts from a card. And then, I'm a writer, so I start writing more. And it becomes kind of a cathartic exercise for me, because I'm looking at my life from the outside in as I'm introducing it to it. And so I enjoyed that part, but it was like 4 or 5 months of these letters. I just kept sending them. And every week I was like, okay, I probably need to stop, because this is nuts and this is crazy. And what good can this even do? Because she's lost her son. So then, lo and behold, about 5 months into it, I go out to my mailbox and there's a 10-page handwritten letter from this woman back to me. And she writes about a bunch of stuff. She tells me about her kids. She writes about 2 pages about her grief. And at the end of the letter, she says this magical thing. She says, you know what? I didn't know I was going to say any of that, but I feel so good from just saying it. And so this kicks off 2 years of me and this stranger basically communicating exclusively through the U.S. mail. We don't text each other. No phone calls. We didn't even have each other's cell number for the first year, probably. No emails, none of that. And it creates this incredible vacuum, which sounds so, it is very obvious, but it had a profound impact, I believe, on both of us. Since she's not sitting in front of me, and I know she's not electronically connected to me, I don't worry about like when she's going to read it, because I don't even know when that's going to happen. So I feel this freedom to say whatever it is I feel like I need to say, because I don't know how she's going to respond. And she's operating in the same vacuum. And I don't have to feel like I have to respond to the specific things she's saying about grief, because she doesn't even know when I read it. So we're honestly communicating in this very intimate way. And these letters are crossing in the mail. I'm looking at my life from the outside in. She's doing the same thing. So it's kind of cathartic. And then we end up trusting each other because of the letters. We would say stuff like, oh, I've never told anybody this before, but I know I can tell you, stranger, at the mailbox. And we would tell each other things. But the best part was I had no idea how she voted, I had no idea what her socioeconomic level was or how she stood on any issue. I knew she was a teacher, but I didn't really know anything about anything else except for what she told me. And so I didn't care about any of that. All I knew is I cared about her, not just because she lost her son, because she had opened up about her whole life. We would send pictures back and forth in the mail rather than post them on Facebook. And so after about 8 months of, these letters exchanging, this pen pal thing, I sat back and I was like, if this much goodness and this much really life altering, perspective changing could happen for me, like what other untapped goodness is in this list of 600 people who I'm friends with, quote unquote friends with. And so I was like, you know what I should do? I should go all world bananagrams. I should try to write all of these people a handwritten letter. So Patrick, this is when I went off the chain. This is when things went awry. I turned left at the intersection and I put everyone's name in a box. I bought stationery. I got a journal and I thought I'd get to like letter 30. But by the time I got to letter 30, I was like, wait a second. This is probably the most important thing I'm ever going to do in my life. And so I spent 18 magical, like arduous, like never ending months writing 600 handwritten letters to every one of my Facebook friends. And I went from the girl who had written a letter in 30 years to the girl who can't shut up about it.
I have to pause for a logistical question here.
Right.
And actually I have two. One, how did you know she was reading the letters that you were sending to the Ronald McDonald House? How did you ever know she was even getting them?
Well, I didn't. And
You didn't.
I just felt like it was a support thing.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing about a handwritten note or letter is it's so non-intrusive because you're not asking anybody for anything back.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that at the time. I just felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do.
Yeah, but she confirmed later on, she had gotten all those letters
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
She, we became best friends is the whole story. So she ended up taking me to the Ronald McDonald House in Memphis.
Oh, wow.
And we toured around. And the first thing she took me to, Patrick, and I could have never known, she took me to the mailbox where the letters came. And she said, here's where it all started.
Wow. Well, so that leads to my next question, which is, how did you find the mailing addresses of 600 people on Facebook? I'm finding that I have a hard time with finding, like with even clients, finding even their business addresses. I have to do research on it because no one puts their address in their email signatures anymore. And that drives me crazy. It really does. Cause I put mine in there because you never know, right? Someone might want to send something, but how did you find 600 mailing addresses? I mean, and
that's the number one logistic question I get from I call it the Facebook project.
Yeah.
So I'm a numbers girl. So I had, and when I say I had 40% of the addresses, I had access. Like, let's say I was writing you and we have a mutual friend that I'm best friends with. Well, I could ask that person. Or like my mom has an address book still. I could ask her, or I could text a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just had it because I had it. The second option was what you said, you have a work address that I can find, especially if you're a school teacher, that's easy, because I know you work at Abbott Elementary. Mm-hmm. Well, that's easy to figure out. Or I could do a little deeper dive, like you said, and find their corporate address but the last case scenario, the desperation move was I would Facebook message the person.
Yeah.
And at the very beginning, that was awkward. Once the letter writing project became, because I never publicized anything about the letters, but people began to talk. And by the end, it was super easy to get people's address. But as the process went through, people obviously questioned why I would need their address. But I probably got 97% of the addresses. Yeah. Part of that's because of the momentum of the project. And part of that's because when I told people they were going to get a letter, they got excited, but they wanted to know what the angle was. And people were fascinated with the fact that there was no angle.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Like we're surprised that, no, I just want to connect. I just want to write you a letter. So keep going. You write all of these. What's the result of that? I mean, what kind of responses were you getting? And, do you have 580 pen pals now that you're trying to keep up with? How does that work?
Well, I will say that I kept telling myself when I'm done with this, I'm going to get off Facebook. I think everyone goes through that with social media. Now I'm going to get off. But when I individually connected with 580 other human beings who I knew to differing degrees, because my Facebook list is very similar to everyone else's Facebook list. Yep. There's the girl you met at the wedding.
That's right.
There's your brother-in-law's sister who you talked to for 5 minutes. So there's the girl you lived next to for 10 years. There's the guy you sat in a cubicle next to for 12 years. Those people. So I think my story of the letter writing is super relatable because it would have very similar to if you would have written letters,
Yeah.
right? And so it's very similar. So what I did not understand, I was doing the letters not because I was trying to do something good. I just thought this is a powerful thing that I experienced with Dana. What happens if I do it with everyone? But the responses that I received, how the letters made people feel seen and valued was so off the charts that it was like adrenaline that I could not stop myself from doing it.
Well, with Dana, you had a reason up front.
Right.
I mean, there was an opening to that conversation. With the person that you met at a wedding, and you don't even know if they even remember who you are. They just accepted your friend because it was polite. What is the premise of a letter that you write to them? What do you put in a letter like that?
Right. And that's a great question. And the letters began to have a framework only because if you're going to do something 600 times, you're going to create a framework, not because you're a genius, or you're trying to be meaningful, but I created a meaningful framework, and it worked. It worked well, and it differed on how well I knew the person, but I opened every letter by saying, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. It's a short paragraph.
Yeah.
Dana and her son, I started writing your letters, blah, blah, blah. And as I developed through the project, that introduction changed. And I would say I'm testing what relationship means in the world of social media, and then I would say something like, this is awkward and crazy. And I get that my handwriting's bad, and that's fine. Like, say something funny. And then the obvious thing you do is the first thing you're going to think is like, I got to figure out how I'm connected to this person. So you get on their profile. So I did this 600 times. I get on their profile. I'm like, oh, Patrick, we went to high school together, and I haven't talked to him in 30 years. But then, so I look at your profile. I'm like, oh my gosh, Patrick, look what he's done. Look at this podcast, look at his coaching. And so the first thing I would say was like, Patrick, you're a rock star. Like, I'm really excited about the work you're doing. And Patrick, over and over again, I realized I could not understand who Patrick Jinks was through a Facebook profile. I'll tell you what, over and over again, I was like, I am related. I mean, I am associated with these rock stars, and I didn't look at them as individuals. I knew that you had done something, like you were doing something like that, but until I stopped, and if it would have been you, if you would have been my high school friend, I would have gone and listened to 10 minutes of your podcast because I would have been super interested. Yeah. And so the first thing I get to say is, Patrick, you're a rock star. And then I might have seen something when I went through your profile, something you were struggling with, an award you had won. Maybe you'd lost a parent. Well, then I have a chance to say, hey, man, I'm sorry. Hey, man, congratulations. Hey, man, whatever. And then since I still have a second page to fill, and really the best part was, and the only reason I did it because I had another paragraph I needed, I was like, oh, Patrick, like how did Patrick impact my own story? And I didn't really do that cognitively. That's just what happened. And I would look back and think, oh, Patrick, like we hung out at lunch every day for junior year, and when my grandmother died, Patrick like coached me through that, didn't even know he was the coach yet, but he sat there, and was nice to me. Or Patrick and I like did blah, 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 whatever. Well, then I get a chance to thank you or acknowledge some part you had in my life, whether it's 10 minutes, like, oh my God, we killed it at that lady's wedding and we danced, they almost threw us out of the women's bathroom. I mean, just a chance to say something personal. So you combine all that together, you stick it in a letter, and people receive it. And before they even open the letter, like all that goodness is going to be in there when they get in it, and it's going to be handwritten. So it's not going to be filtered. They're going to see my personality, my vulnerability. They're going to see the fact that I'm not a great speller, that my handwriting's crap, but they're going to have this magic moment at the mailbox. And this is the key to the whole thing. If what's inside the envelope is sincere, and then you've handwritten it, and it does not have to be a letter, it can be a note, but you're going to create this moment. And this is what I learned over and over again, the impact this can have. And I had no idea. They're going to stand at their mailbox or their inbox, or however this works, whatever context you want to put it. They're going to hold it in their hands. And first of all, they're going to be holding in their hands something that you held in your hands that you meant just for them. Super tactile, super personal, super meaningful. And they're going to connect the dots. Here's what it took. And let's reverse roles. Now you sent the letter to me. This is what Patrick had to do for me to have this moment. he had to go and find paper or card or whatever your vehicle was. Then he had to get an envelope. Wait, where's my address? Does he even still have stamps? Then you had to seal it. Then you have to run across town and figure out where you mail it. You had to make the effort to deliver it in some way. And so I'm going to hold this in my hand before I've even read it. And I'm like, this is how much I matter to another human being. And what I've learned, Patrick, from this story, because I've spoken to organizations, I spoke to teams, I spoke to inspirational groups, is that there is an empirical value in every context of this practice of making someone feel value and the impact that can have in any personal context where there's a human relationship. It's off the charts.
As you're talking, I'm thinking about, so a lot of the work that I do is in the nonprofit sector. And as you might imagine, the vast majority of the nonprofit organizations I coach have to do some kind of fundraising, and they have donors, and they have some kind of donor relationship program where they first of all, the letter, if they are doing a direct mail campaign, they're writing the solicitation letter. And if they're any good, they're writing a thank you letter or a follow-up because we hadn't heard from you yet or whatever. And then there's the whole thing around fundraising about, 7 touches throughout the year, et cetera. I'm guilty of this back in the day when I was in organizational leadership. You have hundreds, if not thousands of donors. They're in a spreadsheet or a database. You do a mail merge that creates 800 letters in a Word document. And, everybody's got their block email address and, dear Miss Daughters or dear Amy or whatever, however that is. And then this typed out, nice font, branded letterhead goes out, and it's got actually, in most cases, a graphic signature. It's not even a real signature. And I remember this. I picked this up from someone years ago where I would get handed the letters, because one thing I did when I did this, I said, I want to at least sign them all. Right. I want to hand sign them all.
Right.
And then for those that I knew, like if I knew you and you're one of our donors, I would say, I would scratch out. This is the old thing. I would scratch out the dear Miss Daughters by hand, and I'd write Amy in there. And then off to the side, I'd say, Amy, it was great to see you at the reception last week. Thanks for all you do for the organization. P. Right. With my state. And but there were not that many of those, because if I had 800 donors, I didn't know all 800 of them. And I'm just sitting here thinking, what if you did it with 600 people. What if we wrote handwritten letters? In fact, I remember a time, Amy, this will excite you. United Way in Shreveport, Louisiana, about 1997 or 8, somewhere in that neighborhood. We were soliciting the physicians in our community, asking the doctors to give to United Way. And we had a hard time, as many communities do, getting doctors to support us, because oftentimes, people don't know this, people think doctors are cheap. They're not. They are very generous. They just have many of them have literal missions around the world that they contribute to. And medical societies have these big philanthropic efforts. So we're trying to get them to donate to United Way in our local community. And what we ended up doing was hiring, at that time, the medical society in Shreveport had a wives auxiliary. And not a spouse's auxiliary, it was a wives auxiliary, if all the doctors are men, right? But the wives auxiliary co-chairs stepped up and said, we're going to handwrite letters, not to the doctors. We're going to handwrite letters to the auxiliary members, asking them to donate. Giving skyrocketed that year. People from all over the country were going, how did you do this? We're looking at the data from across the country, and we see that the per capita and the average gift of physicians in your community is higher. Why? It literally was because of a personal handwritten letter campaign that went beyond the standard template that you open up and you go, oh, they sent this to 800 other people. It was really powerful.
Well, and that you just explained the entire, that's exactly it. And I think it's important to say that, letter is a great word, and I wrote letters. They were 2-page letters, but you can have the same impact in a 2-line note.
That's right. Or a card.
Yeah, as long as it's sincere, and in a business context, we want to be professional, but if it's sincere and specific to that person, even if you just say, "Hey, thanks for your support," I think that's super powerful. But if you say thanks for your support and be specific about what the donation or the support or whatever, but it does not have to be. And I think part of the problem with the two elements of my story that that are kind of a hurdle is, one, I'm a writer, which you don't have to be to do this, and two, the word letter. It does not have to be letters. The universe, or whatever, however you want to term it, gave me this incredible story to share with the universe. But that doesn't mean it's the blueprint for how this works. Because I think a note, and I've worked with a lot of groups and organizations and leaders and teams, a note is just as effective, especially professionally.
Yeah. Again, I think the key is the handwritten part.
Right.
Of the
and
note.
delivered in some way that takes an effort. And I'm not saying it has to be mailed. It has to be walked across the office, or, there's different ways, but they know you had to do something, because everyone knows that everyone else is busy, especially leaders. Yeah. Everyone knows. And there's such a place for instantaneous communication. We need it, but they know you could have just sent an email. They know you could have just sent a form letter. They know we all are playing by the same rules. But when you take the extra effort to do this, there is no gauge. And I tell people this all the time. I think, other than giving someone $1,000 in cash, you're going to have a hard time having more impact than this. And the reason is, and I've talked to so many people who have a personal story about how they saved a note that someone sent them, whether it was a client, or like a leader in an organization, a coworker, somebody where they do business with, a service provider, in any context, they'll hang these notes up and save them forever.
So absolutely correct. So absolutely correct. I've had people send me, my coach and mentor and trainer in coaching for many years, Dr. Jim Smith, sent me his thing is gifts. So he likes to mail gifts to people, and out of the blue, right. We're I've been an adjunct coach with him for a while, but not daily working with him. And out of the blue, he knows that I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan, very avid St. Louis Cardinals fan. And he knows who my favorite player of all time is and all of that. I get a package on my door one day, and it's from him. And I thought, this must be, maybe it's a new leadership manual or something he's putting out. I open it up, and he knew. So he's this old school, almost like Harvey McKay, swim with the sharks without being eaten alive kind of guy. If you've ever read that book, you'll know what I'm talking about. But he understood this personal connection, and I opened it up. He knew that I was going that next month to St. Louis to a game. I opened the box up, and there's a note, handwritten, and it says, "Patrick, just thinking about you. Here's something for the big game." And I open it up, and it's a Ted Simmons jersey, an official Cardinals Ted Simmons jersey, the right number, the right name. That's it. Hey, I know you're going to the game. I know you like the Cardinals. Here's a gift. Now, I know I'm not encouraging everybody. Send everybody a gift.
You're right.
But the idea was, what hit me was not, this is an amazing jersey. I mean, that hit me too. It really was great. But it was, man, he didn't have to do that. Like the effort he went to for that.
Right.
But you're right. I think you have almost the same impact with just a handwritten note that's, man, someone took the time it came to my mailbox. It is different. It's different than a text, or definitely different than an email. We do that a lot. We think we're really connecting. Hey, here, thanks for attending our reception or whatever. Man, nothing like those handwritten notes.
No, and even if you say something meaningful in email, I think that has way more pop than but just something like, I've talked to people, and we talk about a professional context, like where do we go personal, but it's so simple. You don't have to get super personal, but the most meaningful things I've heard from people is like when they lose a parent, and someone from an organization, let's say they work with an attorney or with an accountant, and someone sends them, or they're on their team, or they're a donor, and someone sends them a simple note and says, "Dear Patrick, I am so sorry about your dad. The team and I are thinking about you." That's it. Sincerely, Amy,
Yeah, that's
sincerely, Amy Daughters, or whatever. And they're going to hold on to that for the rest of their life, because there they are. They just want to be seen. People just want to be seen. And all the great technology we have, people don't feel seen and they don't feel valued. And that's why employee engagement is in the dumpster fire it's in, is because people don't feel that. And there is an empirical value in, you can see it with the employee engagement numbers. You can see it with client, relationships and
empathy markers.
There was a study done about the positive emotions that have the most influence on U.S. customers' loyalty. And as a whole, feeling valued, appreciated, and respected were at the top of the list. It wasn't being happy or satisfied. It was feeling valued and appreciated.
That's right. Tons of research out there on that. There's also research about the presence of a screen in a meeting. That just the presence of just your phone sitting in front of you sends a message of, you're not quite as important to me as this phone, because if this goes off, I'm picking it up. I don't care where we are in our conversation. And so there's a study done about the measurement of empathy markers among college students with just the presence of a screen. They just went down dramatically. The human connection part of that just dropped dramatically. So it really is about, but we've become so lazy because of technology. I mean, Amy, we think we're doing something when every day, if you log on to Facebook, and well, any day actually, but you people who log on to Facebook every day, one of the first things you see is today's birthdays.
Right.
And they'll show you, hey, here's all the people who, if they put their birthday into Facebook, here, they have a birthday today. And for a while it was, let me send them a Facebook thing and, happy birthday. Facebook now has it where they've got these 5 or 6 different messages already. All you have to do is click them, happy birthday with a party favor and a cake icon, and you just boom. And you send, and you just click. It literally is one click for all 6 birthdays that are for that day. And you're done. And you feel like, wow, I just wish them a happy birthday. And they probably get, if they're like, I get a ton of those on my birthday, and they're cool. They're cool. But how lazy have we become where we can't even type out happy birthday. Now we have to have it just in front of us where our thumb just touches it.
Right. And those things all this, I say artificial intelligence, that's not what that is, but it kind of is. But, what it does is it takes emotional intelligence, and every day it becomes more powerful. Every day, the handwritten note, every day, the act outside of that realm makes it more powerful.
Great point. The more we go into that era, the more powerful the handwritten or the human connection is. Yeah, right. That's a really good point.
And another not suggestion, but I will tell you another subsequent journey I went on, which I think was even more powerful from the letters. I mean, the whole thing had such an impact on me that I realized the best version of myself was writing notes or letters or whatever you call it. So at the beginning, when I stopped writing the letters, I would still write somebody a note every day, which I do. Like, it's the same thing. I encourage leaders or people, human beings. I keep a little notebook by my desk, and it's categories like support, thank you, sympathy. And every day I've already know who I'm going to target. And you can do that in an organization. You can do that 4 rungs down from you. You can do it with customers when you hear stuff that's going on in their life, and then you have the context for what to write a note. But 2 years ago, I decided to write everyone a little birthday note, handwritten birthday note. And I will tell you, Patrick, that had more impact than the letters did, because there's something about people being seen on their birthday that's more powerful. And really, an organization could do that handwritten. You get a month in front, when everybody's birthday is, or you can figure it out, get a month in front, and it's going to be meaningful just by saying, hey, we really appreciate you. Happy birthday. And I know organizations send birthday cards, but they're not handwritten because I get them.
No, in fact, there are companies, and I used to use one of them, that you can go online and type the message you want and design the front of the card, and it will even do the mailing for you.
Right.
But that, while it looks slick, doesn't have quite it's got more of a personal touch than not sending one.
Right.
Because it does come in the mail, but you customize it with your design, but there's something about the handwritten part of it.
and it's cheaper. If you don't even have
That's
to,
true.
it doesn't even have to be a birthday card.
Yeah.
It can be a note that
Yep.
says "Happy Birthday" real big at the
That's
front
right.
in your own handwriting.
Yeah.
In your own handwriting. That's where it's going to tip people over the edge. And so whatever you're trying to do in a relationship with another human being, whether it's, referrals or employee engagement or making people feel valued to work for you, or just in your own personal life, a handwritten note will the connection, it bridges so many gaps that now separate us.
So Amy, connect this with a bigger picture, like zoom out just a little bit, handwritten notes as a very specific connection point and method. One of the things that anybody who knows me has heard me rail on this for since 2020, really, since COVID. Zoom is amazing. Microsoft Teams and Google Meet and all the the ability to be able to meet with teams all over the place. Amazing. I love technology. I'm a techie. I've always kept up with it. I'm a pretty robust user of AI in many different ways. But I resist with everything within me virtual meetings when an in-person meeting is feasible and doable. I really resist it. We have organizations where I will facilitate a board retreat. And I'll often get asked, hey, I got a couple of board members that can't be there. Can they Zoom in? Like, well, and I literally have started saying no, if they miss it, they miss it, because it's distracting for the people in the room to have a hybrid meet where somebody's on a screen and somebody's not. And how the activities that we do where we're telling stories to each other or we're engaging with each other, it just isn't the same. And so I use it. I use it a lot. I have to. And it's very powerful. I'm coaching a team right now, literally a team of 12 that lives all over the country, from Phoenix to Seattle to St. Louis they're all over the place. And it's great to have the virtual technology. But if I'm here in my home city of Columbia, boy, it's so much better for a team meeting, especially to just be done in person. So my whole point is this idea of connection that you're touching on with the letter writing and the note writing, the handwritten thing, is there's a bigger picture to it. And it's just human connection that is as authentic and real as it can possibly be. And virtual, yes, this is you and me literally talking. I see your face on the screen and you see mine, and this is real. This is really us, not avatars, but still not the same. It's not the same as if we were at Starbucks having this like conversation. It just isn't the same. What have you found here? A long story to leave you this question. What have you found in either the research or just the bigger picture about not just what letter writing does in the research, but what human connection, the importance of that, and what we're losing as we go into more and more of the technology and the virtual and the AI and the shortcuts?
Right. What I found from the note writing, it's a great question, is that there is something that we don't just crave it as humans. We don't just crave real connection, in-person connection, human connection. We need it. It fills something in us that can't be filled with anything else. And I think the in-person meeting, is a lot like the letter because it requires sacrifice. You have to go somewhere to have the meeting. And then you're in the same room. You can read each other. You sit next to each other. We have a human need to sit next to another human being. There's only so isolated we can be. And I think and there's been studies about this, isolation, social isolations, which really COVID ramped that up 100%. It gave us the opportunity, like you said, to do all these things.
Gave us an out. It gave us an out.
And I read that isolation is 10 times or as powerful as is, obesity or having alcohol use disorder. And that's from a study from BYU from this she's a psychologist. I guess she's a doctorate in psychology, but that it's that dangerous to be that isolated. And I think all it says, it's the human, we're still the human, even though we have all these tools, we're still basically a human, we're this skin and bones, emotion driven person that needs certain things from other people in order not just to flourish and to be successful, but to survive, in one piece.
Yeah. certainly to thrive. But yeah, I think I think you can make that case for the survival piece.
Right, right.
That connection.
You think about the hunters and gatherers.
Yeah.
And this is something in history. They work together to hunt and gather things, but they hunt and gathered each other too. And we've stopped doing that. We think we're doing it, but none of this requires and I think that's the thing about letter writing, in-person meetings, is that it requires you to do something. True human connection and relationship requires sacrifice on the part of the participants. It's a transaction that I know you care and I matter to you and you value me because you gave up something you didn't have to.
Yeah.
And then if I in turn do that to you, then we're like, oh my gosh, we matter to each other, and that's more important than we give it credit for now.
That's such a great point, and because everything is about relationship. I've got a friend and colleague who's been on the show now a number of times. His name's Ron Harvey. And he says it over and over and over. Nothing happens without a relationship. Nothing happens without a relationship. Well, we think, and I'll just get back on a soapbox here for a minute. In the sector I work within, and I think even in the corporate sector, maybe even more, we treat software tools as the proxy for our relationship building efforts. So I have a CRM, a customer relationship management software program. Ooh, right. Let's get one of those, and that will improve our relationships. But it doesn't replace a relationship. It just manages the contact, data around it. It's not right. The actual relationship. It can create some connection points, but it doesn't replace the relationship. And I've seen many organizations wonder why they don't have quite the relationships that other organizations do, because gosh, we're using Salesforce, right. We're capturing all this stuff. It sends out automated stuff. It even segments them by interest, and we know this and we know that. Yeah, but it doesn't replace a relationship. And I think that has been as simple and elementary and even insulting to people's intelligence as that sounds. It really is a mental block, it seems, like an institutional mental block about what those software programs are designed to do.
When we think that technology can solve anything, and I think we've seen in our lifetime this incredible advancement in technology, and so surely it can replace and solve these things. But you know what CRM is? It's just like social media. It is a jump off point for real relationship. Mm-hmm. With CRM, you are just degrees away. And my story is a perfect example of this, of real relationship, because I took these electronic beings with these letters, I didn't mean to do it. I was totally non-intentional. But I took these electronic beings and turned them into human beings by one simple act. But CRM gives you all the tools you need to write a note. It's a jump off point, just like Facebook gave me that. Salesforce, well, if you really want to use Salesforce, figure out a way, a blueprint that takes Salesforce. I'm not saying it has to be handwritten notes, but something completely tactile like that, use it as a jump off point for a real connection.
Yeah. Boy, what a great conversation. So what are you doing now? You wrote, I wrote letters to 600 people on Facebook. What's the work now? What do you describe yourself doing as it relates to that whole concept?
What's unbelievable, because I thought, I wrote a book about it, and I did some podcasts. When you write a book, you do podcasts. Yeah. And this was like 3 years ago. I wrote this book, or it came out. I do not spend a week where I'm not on 3 podcasts talking about letter writing. And that made me realize that here's this little human tool that we all have in our little human toolkits that applies. I thought I had an inspirational story, but now I'm a speaker. I go around, I run around and speak about it. I speak to organizations who want to increase their employee engagement. I speak to referral-based businesses who want to, really connect in this world of the intention economy with their customers in a way that honors who they are as customer-facing people or donor-based businesses. And then I do inspirational speaking. I do workshops in each of my keynotes, everyone writes a note. I'm on a mission. And what I love about the work that I've found is I believe in it. I'm so passionate about it. And I thought I had an inspirational story, Patrick. And what I realized is I have a human relation story. I have a human relating story. I have a tool that will benefit people in a heart and soul kind of way. And, even in business or in organizations. And I realized the first group I had asked me to speak was a real estate group. And I was like, why do the real estate people want me? And this guy was just a visionary. He was like, and now they do a November where they write a note to a customer every day in November, every year. And it's just like this trail of like good stuff behind the story. And I get to be the advocate out in front, being the letter writing lady.
Well, I wish
what a great thing.
Yeah. I wish you'd get more excited about it. If only you could just infuse a little energy into what you're doing. Boy, who would imagine what could happen? I mean, seriously, Amy, I hear your excitement as if this just came to you today. And so it obviously has deep, deep meaning, and I appreciate it. Tell us real quickly about the other book. So we've talked about Dear Dana. The other one is You Cannot Mess This Up, a true story that never happened.
Yeah, that's my humorous time travel book where I wrote myself. As a writer, you always have an idea for a story. Well, my idea was like, I'm going to write myself back to my own childhood, and it's going to be hilarious. Like, I'm going to go to 1978. And so basically the premise is I go back to my hometown of Houston for a meeting, and on the plane I get transported back in time, and this time travel guide takes me to my suburban home and drops me off and says, it's Thanksgiving in 1978. You have 36 hours inside the walls. They think you're a distant cousin from Ohio, and you have to survive 36 hours. Your parents are the same age as you. Your brother and sister are 12 and 8, and your 10-year-old self and your grandparents are going to be in there. And so I go in thinking I'm going to write this hilarious story, and it is funny. But it turns out that I had to like remember all my memories, because I was looking at my memories as a 40-something-year-old woman, and here's this 10-year-old kid screwing it all up, not her fault. I saw my parents as contemporaries, and it absolutely was a catharsis. It's funny, it's relatable. I mean, I'm really proud of that book just because, I'm proud of it that it even got published. So
that is very cool. That is very cool. I don't have that one. I have the Dear Dane. I'm going to have to get that other one. That sounds great. Amy, a week ago, on and on and on about this, and I know you've got plenty of other things to say about it. I'm going to encourage people to get the book, reach out to you. I love what you just said about speaking engagements and working with employee engagement and any of that, because I think it could be truly inspiring for people in really an endless number of sectors and genres and life journeys. So I really do appreciate that. To wrap the show, I have 2 questions for you. 2 questions I ask all my guests because I love the stories. The first one is, who comes to mind immediately for you as a leader in your life? Maybe even someone that doesn't know you. It can be that, but a leader in your life who's had profound impact on your view of leadership, and why that person.
Right. And the first person who comes to mind is my father, who is deceased. But my dad was, well, first of all, he taught me that, the way to be a leader is not to have everyone see you as not the leader, but as the boss. You take care of people, and they only see you as that when you absolutely have to have that role. But my dad did such a great job. He was a straight man, like he's an engineer, he was the reliable guy who would balance his checkbook and do all the stuff everybody expected him to do. But he had this twist to him. Like, he would come up with a crazy idea, and he wouldn't just talk about it, he would do it. So he never sat us down and said, hey, if you ever come up with something like that's a little bit nuts, then just go with it. But I watched him do that over and over again. There were some key things that he did that I had the confidence at several intersections in my life where I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. And Dad, like I said, he never told me that, implicitly, but the way he lived, I'll live the rest of my life that way and leave nothing on the table like he did, because he was never afraid to step outside the box and do something. And his legacy is me and my brother and sister in that way.
Wow. What a tribute. That's powerful. Last question. And I don't know, I might have a hint into this already, but I'm going to let you say it. You might surprise me. You're at the top of a mountain with a giant megaphone, and all the leaders of the world are at the base of the mountain, ready to hear the Amy Daughters 15-second soundbite on leadership. You're there to tell them the most important thing for all of them to keep in mind as leaders. What are you telling them?
Well, I say leaders, we live in a world where everybody thinks there's a blueprint for how we're supposed to do this. But inside of each one of you, including myself, there's a great idea that if we only believed it just long enough to take one bold step forward, we would change the whole world.
Wow. We think about one step. I love that. You don't have to take all the steps at once. In fact, you can't take all the steps at once.
Right.
One step.
Take one bold step towards your idea that no one else has. And let's see what happens.
I love it. Amy, thank you so much. I really do appreciate the energy, the authenticity. You've inspired me to take a look at some of my habits and how can I increase personal connection. I preach it. Am I practicing it to the level that I can? What I love about it is it's simple stuff. This is not hard to do. It's just carving out some bandwidth for it and realizing that it's of great value. It's worth carving it out. So thank you. I want to encourage everybody to go to amydaughters.com. Daughters like sons and daughters. AMY daughters.com. And learn more about her. You'll see more about the books. There's a clip of the Kelly Clarkson segment on Amy's website, so you can get all of that there. We'll have the link on our podcast episode page as well. And go find out who you need to make some personal connection with, either in person or with some kind of handwritten note. I hope this has inspired you to some sort of action, even if it is that one little step. Amy, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Patrick. I enjoyed every minute of it.
All right, folks. See you next time. Lead on.